Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Justin, how you doing?
Good, Laura, yourself?
Good, thanks. All right, I'm super excited for this one because love me some tax. No, I know not everyone feels the same way.
I did not.
Well, then it's perfect that we're doing this together. There's one
It
person
is.
that loves it. The other one's like, just make my life easier.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I can see that some of our participants are joining in. I would love anyone who is here to feel free to put any comments in the chat around where you are, what your business is. We want to get to know you. And if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to use the Q&A function within Zoom. So just pop the question there and I will either jump straight into that question or I'll come back to it. But either way, we will answer those questions. How does that sound? Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is really talking about the step-by-step as a business owner of what you can do to ensure that your tax is really, really easy and that it's relaxed time when it comes to tax time. So we want to be feeling just like Justin wants to feel, right?
Exactly. I want to feel relaxed.
That's it. Awesome. So what we're going to do is this is an interactive session. So feel free to pop in any questions and comments as we go. There aren't going to be slides this time round. We're going to talk to the different options, but we do have an end of financial year checklist for you and a working from home deductions cheat sheet. So we'll be going through those two things. And Justin will be walking us through how to make all of this super simple for you in Thriday. So let's kick off. I'm going to start by the most cumbersome thing that we need to do, which doesn't have to be cumbersome, is the gather stage when it comes to your tax return. And what do I mean by that? That is that you need to know your personal details, such as your TFN, your ABN, contact information, bank account information, and spouse details, because without that, you can't get your tax done. And I know that when I'm, working with customers and clients, we tend to forget that one little bit. And Justin, did you want to jump into where that information can be stored in Thriday?
I absolutely can. Let me share my screen. So in Thriday, if you go to the tax section, and then you go into your tax profile, you'll be able to follow the bouncing ball for all of these details. And in settings, in tax, you can add your tax file number. And what else would you like people to add in here, Laura?
Then the other thing is you already have your bank accounts in Thriday. So
Exactly.
you can easily go and grab that BSB and account number that you need so that the ATO can, if you're in a refundable position, pay you some money where you can pay your tax out of. So all of this can be found in Thriday, which is what we need. And your ABN is on your dashboard, I believe.
Exactly. That's one of the key selling propositions of Thriday is everything in one place. The idea is that if you've struggled with tax, banking, accounting, tax in the past at all, once you start using Thriday, income comes in, expenses go out, you save your receipts, come tax time, everything's organized in one place and it just feels easy.
Absolutely. So the ABN, the TFN, and contact information is all within your Thriday. And that's the one thing that I find that most people forget, where they store their TFN and all of that. So make sure you put that in Thriday if you haven't, or if you are not yet using Thriday and looking to move over to Thriday, then collect that information. The next thing that we need to really consider when we're doing our tax is the income records. So as a sole trader, there's two types of income. There's the income for your business, which should be in Thriday, and we'll go through that in a second. And there is also the potential that you might have employment income, or you might have investment or rental income, dividends, bank interest, crypto, you name it. There's lots of different things that can be happening here. And so what I wanted Justin to show you is for an employment income, we also have a spot for that, which helps with your whole tax estimate too. So over to you, Justin.
So if you go to tax and in the tax profile here, there's an option to say or to enter any employment income that you've earned outside of Thriday, right? So that would just be a manual entry of that data.
That's it, but it does its magic. It's all in the one spot. And if you're wanting, you know, all of your tax and BAS and information in here to be in the one spot, that's where I would enter it. In relation to the other income, like investments or rental statements or crypto or bank interest, you will have reports that you get at the end of the financial year. And we have a nice little hack for you to put this information into Thriday so it's in the one spot. Because I know that when I'm talking to our customers, they're like, it's great, I know where I'm standing, but I have all of these other things. How can I ensure that all of the information's in the one spot? It's saved securely and it's super easy when it comes to doing my tax. And so again, over to you, Justin.
So again, coming to the tax section, and we've got this concept of managing balances, and that has the primary purpose of this is like if you were receiving cash or you were spending money outside of Thriday, you'd be able to come in here and add a balance for that income or that expense, and that would ensure that tax was calculated accurately and effectively. But the hack is if you have things outside of Thriday, like Laura said, crypto, investment properties, whatever it might be, and you want to store those documents in here so they're in one place and searchable, you can actually give it a description here and give it an amount, but make sure the amount is just $0 and just choose other business income or other business income tax exempt, doesn't matter because it's a hack. And you can drag and drop or save whatever file you need to save to here, and then it will just be saved. It won't affect your tax because it's $0, but you'll have a record of it in here.
As you can see on the screen, just there's a $0 one that is uploaded the info for you. So I know a lot of customers where Thriday's doing the tax for you, and there's these additional pieces of information that you don't want to have to cart around in your shoebox or come to a call and be like, what do you need from me? You can upload all of this information here. So that is any of your crypto statements, any dividend or trust distributions or investment statements or rental income, whatever you have that's outside of it, you can put all of that information in here. And even if you are, you know, doing the tax yourself, it is worthwhile having in the one spot for that financial year all of this information, because that's where most people get confused.
Yeah.
Awesome. So now that the other thing that you can be putting in here, but I also wanted to let you know, is your private health insurance. So a lot of people don't realize that having private health insurance actually has tax benefits when it comes to your Medicare levy and surcharge. And so it's really important that you, exactly as Justin's showing, click yes or no to the private hospital cover, because your tax will calculate correctly if you do have private health cover and you click that yes. The other thing as well is that this information, if you don't get the statement in the time to do your tax, does pre-fill with the ATO. So if you can't find it, I know a lot of people stress over it because some of the health cover funds can be really, really slow when it comes to giving you the statement. That gets given to the ATO and is pre-filled in your tax return. But do ensure that in your tax profile that you have the yes or the no ticked based on your situation. Now, the other thing to talk about is the expenses area. And again, we're going to jump into Thriday around the income expenses for business. But before we do that, let's talk about other expenses that you might have that impact your tax, but you haven't necessarily spent it out of your Thriday account, or you moved to Thriday partway through a financial year and you need to get that information in there. And again, we've touched on this area. It is in the balances area, and I'll get Justin, you to jump back into that. You can be adding your, let's say you've got education that you did that was paid personally that could actually be a tax deduction for you. You can add a balance in here that is an expense. And what I like to say is make sure your descriptions are as clear as possible. So professional development, the name of the place that you got this or you did this course, the amount of money that you paid for it, and then allocate it to the expense and the correct chart of accounts. Scrolling, beautiful. Education, beautiful. And make sure it's put in the right financial year. So last financial year, 23-24, and then the month that it was either spent, or if you can't remember, the place that you need to put it is in the last month of the financial year. The reason why I recommend this is that any adjustments that you make can at least be found in the one area. And we know that this is to do with your tax. So in this instance, we know that we spent this in September, so that's great. But let's say you're like, I don't remember what date exactly, but it was definitely in this financial year. Choose June, and then please upload the copy of the invoice or the contract or whatever it is at that point in time and save it. That will then calculate your tax estimate as well, and will mean that anything that could be claimed is recorded within Thriday. So that's the main thing. So now let's talk about income and expenses for the business, because whilst tax return for a sole trader, there's two different parts of the tax return that you need to fill in. There's the personal area where you might have employment income and any deductions that relate to that. And then there's the sole trader business area of the tax return. And this is where you'll get the gold from within Thriday. So Justin, do you want to explain how Thriday actually works, the mechanics of it, to get the income and expenses, and where they could find this information in the reports area?
Sure. So because the biggest differentiator with Thriday is the built-in bank accounts, right? It's the banking data that really powers your business. It enables Thriday to automate the bookkeeping and the accounting side of it. It enables the tax calculations. It enables basically everything, right? So the banking is the super important part of Thriday. Now, of course, as your money comes in, we have these transaction records, and as your money goes out, we have those expense records. And of course, we also, as you save receipts, that then reconciles to those expenses to, recalculate the tax in real time and all of that kind of good stuff. And if you look at the transaction level, when we spent this money at the Pancake Parlor, it was automatically set as food and drink and entertainment, non-tax deductible, right? So all of that stuff happens automatically. Now, what also happens at the same time is your chart of accounts is updated for you to see. So you could see your income, your expenses, your assets, your liabilities, and your equity, etc. And then if we go into the detail of the reports, we've got
the income statement.
Income statement.
Do you want to just change the time period to last financial year?
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Sorry, yeah. So you've got your income, expenses, cost of goods, software subscriptions, all of that kind of good stuff. And this is all updated in real time every single time a transaction comes in or out.
Yes, you don't have to reconcile anything yourself. There's no button that goes, okay, put it here. It does it for you. And this is all the information needed to form this business part of your tax return.
Yeah, but you do have full control, right? So that transaction that I showed you, if for whatever reason it didn't have the chart of accounts that you thought it should, you can very easily come in and update that to whatever you think it should be, right? But if we're doing your tax for you with an assisted lodgement, then obviously we go through all of this stuff with a fine-tooth comb and help you make those changes.
Beautiful. So the business part, which often feels like the scariest part of the tax return, is actually all done for you in Thriday. And you just need, if you're doing it yourself, to grab this information from the reports area, or if you're using Thriday to do your tax lodgements for you. And as Justin said, the assisted version of it, we do all of this for you. We grab the information, we make the changes, we explain why changes are being made so that then in the next year, you don't even have to think about it again. And the system's smart enough to know that with these changes, this is where these things need to go.
Laura, quick question. What do you think stresses people out most about tax time?
The biggest thing is not knowing how to maximize their tax. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, but it's also when a person's used to just being on employment and potentially transitioning to the sole trader where there's both of those things happening, or that their business has got a loss and they don't know exactly how to reflect that and what that means. They're the biggest sort of questions that I get from people. They're like, what do I do?
And I kind of feel like from personal experience in the past, it's not knowing, right, how much tax you owe throughout the year,
Yes.
not knowing how much work you're going to have to put in to do your tax at the end of the year, and then not knowing what the outcome is going to be through that whole process feels super stressful.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like that. Like if you're if you can simplify things throughout the year and just stay that little bit organized by saving those receipts and making sure those manual balances are sort of up to date and you're saving everything in one place, come tax time, it's just easy.
It's all there. It's all there. And that's the biggest thing. I actually had a conversation with someone who is switching to Thriday yesterday, and their biggest bugbear was, I never know what my tax is when I use other accounting software. And that's all I want to know, because I am a small business that doesn't have huge amounts of money. And I want to know what money I can take that's mine and not get that shock at the end of the year when I have a tax bill that I was unaware of. So do you want to talk us through the tax estimate and what Thriday does?
Yeah, so I've been banging on about this, but like as income comes in and expenses go out, we calculate your tax automatically and in real time. So this is always up to date. And whether you're on the app or on web, this tax estimate snapshot is always available to you. And we've always come into like with the philosophy of building Thriday with a focus on automation, right, to make your life easy and save you a bunch of time, but still give you as much granular control as you need. So, you know, we don't automatically send 40% of your money to the tax office just to make sure that you do have enough tax to pay. We give you multiple bank accounts so you can transfer the money into those accounts and save it for when tax time comes. But you always know where you stand.
And with the tax estimate, you can actually see different financial years as well. So this one's the current financial year, but if you go down, you can go back and voila. I know that for the last financial year, that's my estimated tax bill. So whatever money is sitting in my bank account, I can ensure that that $8,889 is sitting there waiting to be paid. And then I feel less stressed because I know what money I can take out. I know what money I can pay to expenses. And this, as Justin said, updates in real time. So we're making your life easier so you don't have to go and say to your accountant, hey, can you calculate what my tax is going to be? Or I don't know where I stand. I feel like I've got a really big payable amount, but I have no idea. And I don't want to do my tax return because of it. And that's actually what a number of people have said when they've spoken to me, Justin. It's like, I don't want to do my tax because what if it's this really big amount that I'm not ready for? So yeah, so the tax.
Ignore it and it'll go away.
Pretty much. But it's human nature, isn't it? It's
It absolutely is, yeah.
normal to go, oh, high stress, don't know what to do, leave it alone.
Yeah, delayed gratification and extended stress. These are two things that we're bad at putting on ourselves.
That's it. Whereas this will give you your up-to-date information. So the income and the expenses for your business, all done for you. That's all you need for your business part of your tax return within your sole trader ITR, individual tax return. But what I want to talk to you about today now, so you've seen how easy it is to keep on top of things and have everything in the one area. But the biggest question I get is, what about other deductions? What are other things that I can be doing to really help maximize? So at the moment, I've got an estimated tax bill of that $8,889. What can I possibly claim that I haven't already that could influence that tax bill? And so we've actually got a working from home deductions cheat sheet. I'm going to talk you through that in a minute, as well as talking about motor vehicle and how you can claim that, and then other things that you might not have considered or you might have missed. So I know that Evan's going to chuck that deductions cheat sheet in, and I'm going to share my screen now. And let's have a look at it. All right, so we've got a working from home deductions cheat sheet because there's actually two ways that we can look at maximizing our tax returns when it comes to our deductions that are outside of potentially your business, aware of them. And also a lot of people tend to go, oh, there's a fixed rate method and that's the easy thing and that's what I'm going to go for. So what does that actually mean? Let's talk about the fixed rate method. The fixed rate method is a cents per hour that the ATO will allow you to claim for working from home. What people don't realize is that whilst it's easy to calculate, so let's say, for example, you worked 1,000 hours in the year, times that by 67 cents, you got $670 that you can claim back for working from home. But that includes your home and mobile, your internet, your electricity and gas, your stationery and computer consumables. You can't claim those things on top of this fixed rate method. And this is where I see a lot of people go, oh, so that 67 cents is for all of that. The only thing that you can claim on top of that is your tech costs. So if you buy a laptop or office equipment, they are not captured within this 67 cents. And so if you're only going for the hours that you've worked from home, you cannot claim any of those additional things. So even if someone worked 38 hours a week, over 48 weeks, that's 1,824 hours, times that by 67 cents, that's $1,222. That's a small amount of money for working from home full time, claiming that 67 cents, especially when it's legitimate in terms of you have a home office. And so I really wanted to share this so that people could have a look at how many hours they've worked from home. The other thing with the hours that you work from home, you need to be able to justify that. So if you're working full-time hours, that's pretty straightforward. But if it changes every single week, you need to be able to show, if the ATO comes knocking and says, well, how did you get those hours? Either a timesheet or a log of how it was calculated, which again, a lot of people are not aware of. And so when doing that, you have to be careful that the hours that you're working are correct and not just an estimate, and you're capped as to how much you can actually get back as a deduction. The second way is the actual cost method. So this is really looking at the essentials for working from home. So it is looking at your electricity and your gas and your internet and your mobile, and looking at what portion of that cost is business use. So whilst it might take a bit more when it comes to understanding how much you can actually claim, and the ATO does go into quite a lot of detail around how you can claim things, especially when it comes to electricity and gas, you need to look at the kilowatt per hour business usage and claim that amount. It's not just oh, here's $1,000, I'm going to claim 20%, but you can work out the percentage. And if you've worked it out, you only have to do it once to make sure that you're not overclaiming it. But if we think of how much we're paying in electricity and gas in a year, and even if it is 10% of that, that is still more than that total $1,222 that you could have claimed with this fixed rate method. So whilst it takes a little bit more time from you to work out what the business use is, you've got lots more flexibility around what you can claim, because you can claim your mobile, you can claim your internet, you can claim your electricity, your gas, you can claim, there are occupancy costs that you can claim. You do have to be careful about the eligibility there. So it's not just, oh, I've made my bedroom into my home office, and now I'm going to claim that as a cost, because the eligibility states that you have to only be able to work from home. So either yourself or your employer don't have another place that you can work from, and that the room that you're using can't be used for any other purpose. So majority of us have a home office where it's not shared and easily converted into a bedroom. So you could actually fall under this, and then you can claim rent or mortgage or any of those sort of occupancy costs, but you do have to be careful. If you are trying to claim your mortgage, there may be capital gains tax implications to that. And what that means is that if it's your primary residence, when you sell it, there may be a portion that is not falling under that primary residence and therefore tax exemption. So sometimes it's not worth claiming your mortgage, because later down the track, you could be getting a tax-free sale on that business. But talk to me or talk to your tax agent, and I'd be happy to answer those things. But most of the time when I've looked at these two methods, the actual cost method has a much bigger deduction based on the fact that you actually have the detailed records and the receipts to support your claims. Now, I know I've just thrown a whole heap of information at you. And so with that information, we've actually created a cheat sheet so that you can determine your eligibility for either the fixed rate method or the actual cost. So here's the situation, and if it's yes or no, it'll tell you whether you can go down to the next thing, or actually, note that deduction's not allowed. So you don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to understand all of the rules. You just need to look at the situation and answer yes or no, and it will tell you whether this deduction will apply. So there's for the fixed rate method, and then there is for the actual cost method. And so we've shared this in the chat, but feel free to jump in and use that, because I find that this is the biggest area of confusion for people when it comes to their deductions. So I'm just going to...
Yeah, we've got some interesting questions here, Laura, too. What if I have a home office that I use for employment full-time plus business? Can I claim work from home fixed rate for employment plus claim mobile bill costs in full for the business?
That's a great question. The answer is possibly. I know I'm one of those tax agents, super annoying. The reason being is I don't have all of your information, but what I will say is, as long as you're not double dipping, as long as the hours that you're claiming for your employment and the deductions, the fixed rate is for that only, and then the remaining hours are in your business and it's the legitimate costs that you spend, then yes, there's no problem with that. As long as it's not just a whole heap of hours here that overlap with the business as well, then you will actually have issues with the ATO.
And then another one, how does home office work when you work from home normally, but have a virtual office that you can rent a desk from?
So then you'd be looking at what portion do you spend at home to work and what portion do you actually rent the desk from. And so again, as long as the hours are not doubled up and you're not claiming hours for when you were in that rented desk, then that's fine. And normally your business would incur that rental cost and will form part of that expenses area within that business tax return. So as long as you're not claiming 100% of your hours working from home, if that's not the case.
And then what if it's a choice that like your business offers a virtual office, but you choose to work from home?
Then that's the grey area. And I would actually say that you'd be better to look at the actual cost method than using the 67 cents. So that way you could actually show them that the income and the expenses that are incurred by you to work from home, I would go down that way rather than saying all of these hours here, 67 cents. Because like, if I think about my situation, I could go into the office, but that's an hour to get in there and then an hour and a half to come back, and I've got young kids, and I'm actually not going to work as much in the office in terms of hours. So therefore, it's a much better option for me to work from home.
Interesting. Another question: do you have a tool that helps me find the right portion in case I use the actual method?
what do you mean by that? Do you mean that you want to look at your actual cost and then what portion of that, the percentage that you could claim? If so, there are a few tools on the ATO website, but if you are using Thriday, you can actually use the business use percentage within that. Justin, did you want to share the screen and show that?
Sure, I can show you that. I think what they're getting at is there like a comparison tool where I could put in my actual costs and then compare that to the other method, which is a great idea. We don't actually have that, but I'll try and find a resource for you. And then just share my screen. So here, if we go back into accounts and we go into this transaction again, and we view the details, if a portion of this was for business and a portion was for personal, we could just simply change the amount for the business use. So that's a super handy feature. You know, think if you're at the servo buying fuel and a coffee, obviously a portion of that could be business and a portion of that is probably not. So that's another example of where you might use that.
And yeah, if you're paying rent and you know that a portion of that is personal, then you could just put the percentage that is business related, even though the whole amount's being paid out of your bank account.
Yeah, exactly. Another question here. I just moved across to Thriday in May, going back to the other income tip and adding my previous income and expenses outside of Thriday. Can you explain why I would add that income as $0? Would that not give an inaccurate end of year tax estimate?
Awesome. Great question. So there's two things that you can do. If it's legitimate income and expenses for your business, then yes, put the actual dollar figure and make sure that you attach the source documentation to it in the managed balances. But if it's other income that are things like investment income that affects you personally but doesn't affect your business, we want you to upload those statements so they're in the one area but not impact your business tax estimate. And so that's why the $0 was used in that managed balances.
Yeah.
And let me know if that answers the question.
And for now, it is a hack. So we'll come up with a better way to do it for sure.
Absolutely. But so far, the feedback that I've been getting from people that have been doing both, bringing in their income and expenses based on what's true from prior to Thriday, plus their additional things, it means that there's one source of truth. So I hope that that helps. I see we've got a love that feature. Thank you. So that's good. Thank you. Awesome. The other deduction area that I think is really important and quite confusing for people is the motor vehicle. So again, there's two different ways that you can claim a motor vehicle. There is the cents per kilometre, or there is the logbook actual cost method. So again, it's very similar to your home office deductions. If you are claiming the cents per kilometre way of doing that, you are capped at 5,000 kilometres in the whole year. And so normally what I recommend, and most people don't realise, is do both, like log both for 1 year. Do the kilometres by cents, which for last year was 85 cents per kilometre. So it has to be legitimate business kilometres. It can't be from your home to the office or from your office to home, but any other business trip in your personal car can be claimed under this kilometres method up to 5,000 kilometres. So that's a maximum of $4,250 that you can claim towards your motor vehicle, and that incorporates servicing and all of the things that come with running your motor vehicle. You can't claim them on top of it.
I'm not sure if that's just Laura or whether it's me, but she's...
Because it's 12 weeks that you have to do a logbook to log all of your business trips. With the logbook method, you can actually claim all other expenses as well. So you can claim servicing, you can claim fuel, you can claim all of those additional things that you would on top of the logbook method. And the one thing to know about the logbook method is it only has to be done once for 5 years. So it's valid for 5 years. And so it's worthwhile for 1 year to look at, well, if I claimed the 5,000 kilometers, because I legitimately did 5,000 or more kilometers, and I got 4,250 versus a logbook and my actual expenses, which one gives you the better deduction? And then for the next year, you can choose the logbook that so make sure it's kept once for 12 weeks for up to 5 years, then you have to do it again.
And sorry, Laura, you just froze right at the end of the 85 cents per kilometer section. So I think what you were going to say was that encompasses all vehicle repairs, costs, and everything related to the vehicle if you
Correct.
choose that method, and you've got to log it for the whole year, and it has
Yep.
to be 100% all of your kilometers tracked and logged. Whereas the logbook method, you've only got to log it for 12 weeks or 5,000 kilometers, and it doesn't take into account all of your repairs, everything else. You can claim them separately.
That's right.
Got
So
it.
a lot of people think the logbook and the kilometers are pretty similar, when in actual fact, they're two really different methods. So it may be worth doing both initially to see which one gives you the better deduction. The ATO, in terms of the ATO looking at this. So if you are going to claim your cents per kilometers, they may ask you how you got to that. And I know that a lot of people are like, just claim 5,000 kilometers, it'll be fine. They will ask you how you got to that if they see that there's higher kilometers than before, but you don't necessarily need to show them anything to claim these kilometers in your tax return.
Is there a 80-20 sort of thing that you've seen here, Laura, where 80% of people, it's better to do one way or the other way? Because I'm thinking probably only 20% of people are going to bother doing both.
Yeah. So I have always found that 80% find the logbook and actual expenses to be a much better deduction for them than the kilometers. Because like, let's say you're not doing huge kilometers in your business,
yeah,
and you can only claim about 1,000 kilometers. That's not a lot of money versus the actual expenses and the logbook for the same number of kilometers.
Yeah, great. Good to know.
Awesome. So the other things that you need to know in terms of other deductions that you might not be thinking of is that if you are getting any sort of advice or tax planning or paying someone to do your tax return, that is all deductible. So I know a number of people tend to talk to an accountant or an advisor throughout the year to get help around that. Make sure that is in your Thriday so that it can be deducted.
Great. And there's another question here. What if your car is mixed use, personal and business?
Yeah, so that's where keeping a logbook would actually be better for you, so that you can just claim the kilometers that are business use only. And either way, if you're going to track your trips, you would only claim the kilometers using the cents per kilometers things that are business use. I think it's less of a headache to do the logbook once and use that information as part of your tax return going forward for 5 years. Awesome. And if you're like, I don't remember what I've spent and I'm not sure that everything's been captured in Thriday, I would do this. Go back to your banking before Thriday and do some searches for things that are common in your business, like Officeworks or Bunnings or whatever it is. And sure that those things that may have been missed are also put in via the balances so that you can claim those deductions. Because I know that sometimes we'll run out, we use a different card. It's like not that much money, but we do it quite often throughout the year and that can really add up and add to our deductions. But do make sure that you have, where possible, a tax invoice and a source document to prove that. Whilst a bank statement and searching for these deductions is a good first step, if the ATO does audit you, they will want to see some of these source documents.
Yeah. And there's no better way to minimize your tax than save all of your business receipts.
Yeah. That's it. So this has been a lot of information, but if you take the time to gather the information and set up an ongoing, maybe once a week, I have a little money date where you can look at and make sure that you've put all of your additional balances in if you need to, or even better, just spend from Thriday bank accounts. You'll be set for the tax time, and enjoy the cheat sheet that we've given you around the home office deductions. Motor vehicle is another big area, which I think we've explained the best options for people there. And if you really want to make sure that you're claiming everything, have a look through other bank accounts to make sure you're capturing any expenses that are legitimate. Awesome. And so as you've seen through what Justin was sharing, it's super easy within Thriday to keep all of this information in the one place. And the bonus of that is that we can actually do your tax return for you from within Thriday. You don't have to do anything else. I can take it from there and do the tax return to incorporate not just your business, but any other income and expense that might be relevant. So if you are considering moving from another accounting software to Thriday, if you do that by the end of July, we are offering free tax returns, which I think is a pretty sweet deal. For existing customers, we have a really great option available to you for very competitive pricing. And there's two ways you can do it. There's the auto option. So if you're like, everything's in Thriday, it's super simple, I just want to make sure that someone looks over it and it goes to the ATO, you can do that for $97. Or if you're wanting the assisted option where we actually jump on a call, we go through everything, make sure all of your deductions are maximized and that you're set up for an easy tax time going forwards, then that starts from $247 with myself, and it only increases if the complexity increases. So there's things like dividends or investments and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's from me, and I will just pop in, Evan, if you don't mind, into the chat.
Just one quick one. There's probably a couple of people out there who have tax returns backed up for multiple years. They feel like it's complex, it's overwhelming, and they're in a position where, they might have been put in a position by sort of bad actors or someone who thought they were going to get good advice from, but didn't. We can absolutely help with any of that kind of problem, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, don't stress. Like, even if it feels hugely overwhelming and messy, it's not for us. We can
every problem is solvable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can see we've got a question. I thought that I could only use Thriday for business use, but I have a profit first account for owner's expenses. Can I use this for personal stuff? Or if something is going to be for mixed use, e.g. electricity, should I pay it through Thriday? So keep your completely personal expenses outside of Thriday because it will mess with the tax estimate. But if you are going to claim a percentage of business use, spend it through Thriday and update that business use. I know that for a lot of people, they may be in a position where they don't necessarily have all of the funds in their business to pay all of the expenses, and that's where the personal account comes into play. But if you have the cash flow to be able to pay those mixed use, pay for it through Thriday and then update the business use, and it'll make your life easy. Awesome. So we've got the checklist for you, which is worthwhile just ticking off in terms of making sure that you've got all of the information, and the deductions cheat sheet. So don't leave without getting those things. And thank you, Evan. I can see that we've put into the chat a free 15-minute call with me if you have any questions. So feel free to jump in and do that. Awesome. Yay. I love this stuff. Beautiful.
I love it now too. It feels easy.
Go. Converted. Amazing. It is a lot easier than what we think. So thank you all so much for your time. Feel free to utilize the checklists and cheat sheets and book in a call. And yeah, if I can help in any way with your tax, please reach out. Thanks so much, Justin.
Thanks, Laura.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.